for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Wednesday, September 25th. Hope all of you are doing well watching on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. They were with us in the summer, and they liked what we did, and it was during the month of June that they're back, and we're happy that they're back. I'd love to welcome on board Souvlaki Authentique. Family-operated Greek restaurants with 7 locations, Lachine, Boisbriand, Pierrefonds. They use fresh Quebec chicken and fresh Quebec pork, both hand-cut, marinated in-house. Their gyro is hand-stacked in-house, never frozen, no MSG in any of the recipes. Greek potatoes, not your Yaya's Greek potatoes. These have a unique lemon sauce. Souvlaki Authentique. Oh, love that place. And once again, welcome to the Sick Podcast. I am Tony Marinaro. We're talking Montreal Canadiens hockey. The Canadiens have played 2 games, and the last 2 nights, off tonight, and 2 shutouts. 5-0 versus Philadelphia, 3-0 versus the New Jersey Devils. Don't get too excited. It's only preseason, or maybe we should. Let me bring in TSN hockey analyst and director of scouting, usually a regular collaborator on Wednesdays during the hockey season. Craig Button, how are you?
I'm great, Tony. And, my mouth was watering as you're reading that advertisement for Souvlaki Authentique. I make Greek potatoes with lemon. I'm dying to try a Souvlaki at Souvlaki Authentique. I might have to get up and leave here now because my mouth is so watery.
You know what? Agnello and I keep inviting you for supper. But you always choose the big shots over us, I think, I never
listen. I'm not in the big shot world. Okay.
And neither am I. So
I'm not in the big shot world, but we're going to have lunch next week when I'm in Montreal.
Fantastic. I very much look forward to it. So you shoot me that text. So when are you in Montreal again?
I come in Monday evening. Either Tuesday or Wednesday. I think you said Wednesday was a good day for you.
Tuesday or Wednesday, either are a good day for you. So you tell me when you're free. Yep. I work radio on BPM Sports until noon, and right after 12 p.m., I'm free. I just have to go work television at 5:30 p.m., but I'm sure the lunch won't last 5 hours.
We got a window. Hey, listen, you know what? If it did, it means that we're having good conversation.
And we're gaining a lot of weight. All right, okay, or at least I am. So for the most part, everyone seems to have the opinion that don't read too much into the regular season. A lot of teams dress their B lineup. Some teams like New Jersey last night dressed their C lineup. But I know it's a crazy question. I know it's probably a crazy question, but I'll ask it anyway. But even though we shouldn't read too much into it, I mean, you'd obviously rather win than lose, right? Like, how much onus do you think, and Marty St. Louis will probably say, no, I just want to see players. But for a team that missed the playoffs 3 years in a row, does winning these games, can it actually carry over?
Well, it carries over in with respect to your ability to instill into your team and the players to apply what Marty and the coaching staff are trying to instill in their team, important elements of winning. So, preseason, like we talk, okay, so a win. Then we talk about C teams, B teams, A teams. Every player, your players are trying to show that they can meet the challenges of the National Hockey League. But at the same time, you're also trying to incorporate fundamental aspects of success into your game. And you got to demonstrate that to the coach. So as you're playing these games, it's an opportunity for every single player that's participating to show something. Listen, I'm not that far away. I'm ready to contribute in a meaningful way. I'm deserving of more opportunities to show what I'm capable of. And ultimately, we know, Tony, we already know who 18 of the 23 players are going to be on the Montreal Canadiens opening lineup. And I might be light there. It might be 19 of 23. So where you're at with respect to the other players showing that they can grab one of those spots that may be available, Marty St. Louis and the coaching staff looking at different combinations, whether it be on the blue line or up front, those are all the opportunities that you're trying to evaluate. Because the one thing that is for certain is that there's no easing into the regular season any longer in the National Hockey League. Like game one, like you got to be ready to go. You got to be ready to get points from day one, game one of the National Hockey League season. And every team is the same. Our goal is to make the playoffs and to compete for the Stanley Cup. If you're not ready to start, and I'm talking meaningful start on day one, that goes out the window very quickly.
In previous years, we've seen more preseason games, I think, and we've definitely seen the Canadiens have more players. There's less players here, so it's kind of like right down to business right off the bat, which is something that I love. But what's your opinion on training camps and preseason and the amount of games that you have in the preseason? What would you like to see done with, is the number, does the number make sense in terms of the preseason games that they play? Would you like to see less? Would you like to see the season start earlier? Thoughts?
I don't want to see the season start earlier. I know there's some groundswell in that regard because playoff. I mean, this year the last game was played on June 24th, and so all we need to start earlier. I don't subscribe to that. Now, again, back to the 19 of 23. You're opening your roster, 23-man roster. 19 of the players are on there. My ideal number is 4 games. 4 games. Play 4 games in the preseason. Okay, now that's what I feel. Get 4 games. The players are all in incredible shape. They're all ready to. They're prepared to come in. What you want them to do is ramp up their speed, ramp up their pace of their play, take on the contact that in the best of training conditions. You're not taking the contact that's going to be prevalent once the regular season begins. So that's where you want to get them ready. And at the same time, again, the overwhelming vast majority of young players, they're not ready. So, you want to see where they're at. It's nice. You have development camps, you have rookie camps, rookie tournaments. Now, these players that are coming in, Nick Suzuki's looking on getting ready. He's not looking he doesn't have to show anybody anything, and he doesn't want to have to deal with other players that might want to show off. I'm gonna really go hard against Nick Suzuki.
Yeah.
They know how hard 82 games is. They don't need, training camp to be harder than is necessary for them to get prepared for the season. Get it down at Montreal. The numbers are down. 4 games. That's what I think. The players don't want the players that are your regulars that are on your team. They don't want any part of anything that's going to disrupt. Disrupt is the word I use. Their preparations for a long season that they hope can be productive.
So I'm all for going from 6 preseason games to 4, for example. But, I asked you about the start of the season. Should you start earlier? And you said you don't subscribe to that. So I'll follow up with this question. Do you subscribe to issuing the Stanley Cup in the 3rd week of June?
I have no problem with it.
Really,
Well, do you think, hey, I was in Edmonton. Everybody in Edmonton was excited about the potential of a Stanley Cup being handed out on June 24th.
Yeah.
And let me tell you this. If there was a Stanley Cup Game 7 played in Montreal on June 24th, Saint Jean Baptiste Day. It just kind
Yeah.
of goes together. You don't think they wouldn't be excited? Do you think Montreal Canadiens fans are going, I can't believe that we got to celebrate the Stanley Cup on June 25th?
I hear you. As a matter of fact, it was back in 2021 because of the delays in the season starting later with COVID that the Game 7 of the semifinal was, Game 6 versus the Vegas Golden Knights. Arturi Lekkonen's game-winning goal in overtime to send the Canadiens in the Stanley Cup final on Saint Jean Baptiste. And, thousands and thousands and thousands of people were outside the Bell Center. But I will say this, I'll respectfully this. I want to live in a world where the Stanley Cup is issued May 31st.
Well, you're not going to find that world, so good luck.
Yeah, I guess I'm probably not, unfortunately. But anyway, I'll still be watching in June for sure. All right, okay. I want to talk to you about Oliver Kapanen because the last time we spoke about Oliver Kapanen. And you said, you know what? I need to look into this guy. And you looked into him. And we heard he was good. And on Monday night versus the Philadelphia Flyers, and it's a preseason game, we saw how good he is. He's good. And now the big question, though, is asking ourselves whether he was that good because he's that good, or he was that good because the Flyers had a B lineup and the Flyers didn't really feel like trying. And he's probably the one who had the most to prove out there. And so he was a lot more motivated than most and all that stuff. But I mean, the tape doesn't lie. I mean, this guy's really good. So I need you to put on your GM hat that you once used to have. And you see this 21-year-old who plays a very mature game. And we've been told by people who have played in the National Hockey League, this guy's ready for the National Hockey League. And one of the people who have told us is coach in Sweden, Olli Jokinen. But you have a bunch of players on your team who are under contract. So can you take us into those discussions that usually take place on the 7th floor and what you're discussing about the contracts? And in this case, for example, Dvorak is under contract and probably in the 3-hole, and maybe a decision on him and whether it comes now or it comes in February. And if you cut Kapanen, he's going to play in Sweden so that you're not recalling him at any point. So just analyze all of that. And how would you maneuver the whole situation?
Is Oliver playing in Sweden or Finland?
He's played in Finland over the last couple of years, but if he doesn't make the Canadiens, he's going to play for Olli Jokinen in Timrå. With Timrå in Sweden.
I wasn't sure. I just
and I wasn't sure either a couple of days ago, but he's been playing the past couple of years for Kalpa. In Finland. But his next team would be in Sweden, Sweden, where I think his father's the manager of the team.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be clear on that. Here's what I would say. I've watched Oliver for a lot of years, and the improvement has been significant. And I think what I talked about last week was, Grant McKaig, one of your collaborators had mentioned that Oliver Kapanen was really playing really well. So where I really zeroed in again on Oliver was last spring, down the stretch in the Finnish league, obviously in the then the playoffs and then the World Championships. And you clearly saw a player. I clearly saw a player that had progressed significantly. Now, that being said, what I want, so you talk about the video, the tape doesn't lie. So they play against the Philadelphia Flyers. So it's kind of if he didn't play well, they oh my God, he didn't play very well. Like you can imagine, he can't even show what he does against a team that didn't dress their best players. And then when he does play well, we go, well, it was a B team. The bottom line is Oliver Kapanen is showing that he's capable. That's what you want players to show. You want players to come in and say, you're going to have to make a tough decision here. I'm going to make it really difficult for you. So now you ask me what goes into the decision. I love when players put management into a difficult spot to make a tough decision. That's what I love to see. So now I don't care if if Christian Dvorak has contract term. I don't care about Jake Evans. You know what? If Oliver Kapanen shows that he can be on the team and he can be capable, then I, as management, have to make room. I have to find a way to make room for him on my team, because this is the key thing. The players know who the better players are. They all know. That includes Dvorak or Evans or Kapanen. Now, you might not be able to do it right away, but as a management group, you have to now go to Oliver Kapanen and say, listen, we want you on our team. Give me some time to do the necessary maneuvers so that I can keep you. That's the honesty part. And then it's up to management to go and do it. The problem of having a player that can help your team and is better than potentially the players you have, that's not a problem. That is a luxury and a benefit to everybody. And that's how I would approach it.
The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. Check out shipenergy.com. It's also an amazing place to work and start a career. Don't believe me? Just ask Forbes. They have them in the top tier and top fleet of transportation companies across the country to work for pretty much all the time. All right, it was back on May 9th that Oliver Kapanen signed a 2-year deal with Timrå in Sweden, a 2-year deal. So he thought that was going to be part of his development path before making it to the National Hockey League. But he's at camp, and he's done real well so far, especially after that one preseason game. Christian Dvorak, once again, his contract expires at the end of the year. The challenge, though, is that Dvorak, like every player on the team and within the organization, is an asset. Some assets are bigger than others. Dvorak last year, unfortunately, had a shortened season due to injury. His value is nowhere near where it probably should be, and his value will increase if they hold on to him in February, and there's a bunch of teams who look and say, hey, I'd love to add this guy for a playoff run and in the playoffs because we can always use depth at the center ice position. So talk to me about a decision there to be made where you couldn't possibly move the player, but you could probably get a lot more for him in February than you can now. Mind you, if you get certain February, you probably won't, but that's the chance you take. So, because you always want to try and get as much for your players as possible, right? It's only normal.
Well, okay, so as much as you want. What happens if you can move Christian Dvorak now and you get the cap space, which allows you to take on cap space to potentially get more for somebody else you might want to trade at the deadline, because you got to take on some salary. Maybe the Montreal Canadiens are in a position where they can add. Having cap space at that point in time is really important. If Oliver Kapanen's better than Christian Dvorak, I can tell you right now, Tony, I'm working to keep Oliver Kapanen on my team. And maybe it's not all. Maybe it's Jake Evans. All I know is your first priority is to the players and the team there. You drafted Oliver Kapanen. You're watching him progress. If he's good enough to play, I'm not. And at depth center, what are you going to get? A 6th-round draft pick that goes to a 5th-round draft pick? Come on. Like, seriously, that might help you in 2029 or 2030 if it all works out the right way. I mean, let's not overstate the value of a player that's been injury plagued, okay? And understand that at his contract value, yeah, there might be something there. But Montreal, there's a lot of different ways to look at where you can gain value. And the value might be right now, regardless of what you get for him with the terms of a draft pick. There's dollars to be considered. There's also the the credibility you have with your players that are looking, well, that guy's better than this guy, and we're going to keep him. That's not how good organizations run, Tony.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you don't like the person or not, but it has to be dispassionate assessment. And that's how you have to look at it.
I got another question on Kapanen probably before we move on, but first and foremost, the Sick Podcast brought to you in part by Bittt Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for the hot summer days. Only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores around the province of Quebec. Pardon me, it's ultra light and ultra refreshing. As you know, Craig, in the 80s, the 90s, and even thereafter, a lot of teams went with the same line philosophy. Top 2 lines to generate offense. Third line is your shutdown line. fourth line is a checking energy line. That hasn't changed. A lot of teams still like to go that route. But let's just say Dvorak would be more of a defensive asset on a third line. Kapanen would be more of an offensive asset on a third line. We've seen some teams try and go with offense spread in the top 9. Would you take that route, or have you forever had a template that it's got to be the way it was in the 80s and the 90s and even in the early 2000s like we talked about?
Templates change, and I think times change, and you have to be ready to adapt to that. You think about like I go to football, right? Like, you think about quarterbacks. Oh, they had to be in the pocket to be really good at pat. Now you have quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes. They don't just operate from the pocket. Running backs. It used to be, you have to run the ball. You have to run the ball. Well, now, tight ends became a factor with respect to offense. And certainly, I if you want to just stay to the way things always were, then don't be surprised if you're not advancing. The wingers used to go up and down the boards and never come inside the dots. Now you have wingers that are flowing everywhere. You think about defenders joining the attack, leading the attack, being part of the breakout. So when it comes to, if I can have more scoring, and I'm not giving up very much, if anything at all, on the defensive side of things. I need players that are really good without the puck. But I'm given a choice of having more offense or less offense, Tony. I'm taking more offense because I'm going to apply pressure to my opponents from that side of things. That's where I would lean towards.
Yeah, you probably just answered my question and even my next question, but I'm wondering how Marty St. Louis sees it, because Dvorak, and, I understand he had some pretty big shoes to fill, which were Danault's shoes when Danault left to sign as an unrestricted free agent with the Los Angeles Kings. But Dvorak is a player that coaches like. They find them a responsible player. They'll put him on the ice if they're protecting a 1-goal lead. They'll put him on the ice in the final minute of the game with the other team pulling their goalie. They'll put him on the ice to kill penalties. When Marty says, and what Kent says, and when Jeff says, and the other Jeff, who's the owner, we want to be in the mix, does that influence the decision on Oliver Kapanen this year? That Kapanen has a great skill set, probably a much higher ceiling than Dvorak. But Dvorak's a coachable player who can do so many things defensively speaking and have that experience. Does the experience over a player without experience, does that hurt Kapanen for a team that wants to be in the mix right away?
Their best defensive player is Nick Suzuki. Again, I'm going to go back to it. If Oliver Kapanen is better than Christian Dvorak, I'm working at every turn. I don't care, about the bottom line, about, you're going to be. Why can't you be in the mix with Oliver Kapanen? The 1986 Montreal Canadiens who won the Stanley Cup. Look at how many young players they had on their team, how many rookies. It's not like being young and not having experience in the NHL is not mutually exclusive to competing. It's not mutually exclusive, Tony. And Oliver Kapanen in the playoffs last year in Finland, at the World Championships for Finland, really good player. Christian Dvorak has been plagued by injuries. Like, you can tell me all you want about responsibility, and I've always been somebody that has always liked the way Christian Dvorak has been. He hasn't been reliable in terms of availability.
I hear you. The Sick Podcast brought to you in part by Betway, a leading global online betting and gaming brand. Follow your gut instinct. Go with Betway. Go on Betway.com or scan the QR code to join the action. Must be 18 and over and play responsibly. Last night, the Montreal Canadiens went 0 for 8 in a game that had like 13 power plays or whatever it was. As you know, this has been traditionally a real bad power play for the last decade, especially in the last couple of years where they've been the second worst power play in the league. Did I say something that's funny, or?
I'll let you finish, and then I'll tell you.
All right, okay. And they went 0 for 8. Some will say, no big deal. They're trying stuff. They haven't practiced the power play yet. They're giving each other different looks, different reads, all that stuff. Mike Matheson, unfortunately, did not have a good game last night. They played him a ton of minutes again, but he's kind of fighting the puck, which is something that he doesn't normally do. The night before, the power play looked better. It passed the puck better. It was less predictable. It was more dynamic. And Lane Hutson was quarterbacking it. Lane Hutson was in there last night. I get it. One game doesn't make a season and one game doesn't make a career. I talked with Pierre Maguire about this last night, and I said, Pierre, if Marty St. Louis chooses Lane Hutson to quarterback the first unit of the power play instead of Mike Matheson, is that a decision that takes a tremendous amount of courage, knowing that you're telling a veteran player, a very respected player with a letter on his jersey, that you're going to go to the second unit? And Pierre thought about it, and well, he didn't think about it very long, to tell you the truth. He said, no, because Mike Matheson is the quintessential team guy. Like, he's a big-time team guy, and there won't be a problem. I'm wondering if you have the same opinion or a different take. I mean, is that somewhat of a courageous move / risky proposition for a coach to give the young guy the mantle right away and say to the veteran, who's the number one defenseman on the team, who picked up 62 points last year, we're going to try something else on the power play this year, and you're going to the second unit?
Why I was laughing, and I'll tell you why I was laughing, is, seeing how the power play was so dismal in the game Tuesday night, I said, Tony's going to ask me about the power play. There's no way. It was so predictable. And,
the whole city's
rightfully
talking
so
about it, really. I mean, they cannot have, Craig, another year of this kind of power play. And you know what? This is why I said, when Marty St. Louis said, I want the power play, maybe he knows what he's doing, because they've added Hutson and they've added Liney. So we'll see. And Doc was going to be healthy, but that's a lot of responsibility, because this power play can't be that bad again.
And you're exactly right. And that's why, we've talked about the offense and the power play is part of the offense. It's in the 25th percentile in the National Hockey League. That doesn't get you anywhere. So you can talk. So we talk about what does it mean? And we talk about the things that everybody wants. Okay, we want to take a steps. We want to be in the mix. You're not going to be in the mix if your power play is that bad and your offense doesn't come around, despite your greatest hopes. Now, I think communication is a huge part of everything you do. I don't think it's so much courageous as much as it is, okay, Michael, we know how valuable we are to you. Players have to feel valued. Players have to feel valued for what they do and what their role is on a team. Marty St. Louis, I think, has done a fantastic job of really getting players to understand, okay, this is what you're best at. This is and we're going to develop that and hone that in you. And then we're going to allow you to be that. And we're going to work with you in those areas. Michael Matheson had a fantastic season last year. And I think Marty St. Louis, if he says, listen, Michael, we're counting on you. Our second power play is going to be really, really important to our success. But you being able to have really maybe more managed minutes that aren't as hard are going to be really important for us as well. I think that that's where Pierre talks about being a great team guy. Michael understands how to fit, but it's up to the coach in Marty to make sure that the player understands and that feels valued. And so I think that's the part of it. Yeah, you could say it's courageous to go and do it. Remember, you're not saying if Marty does go down this path and he says, Lane, you're going to run our first power play. It's not like you're saying, Lane, you're the power play QB number one for 82 games. You can see how it unfolds. You don't have to lock into it forever. You don't even have to lock into it for 2 games.
Yeah.
And so it's just about understanding what you can do and how you communicate. But I agree with Pierre with respect to Michael understands about being part of a team and everybody having a functioning role on that team.
Yeah.
But it comes down to the communication and the value proposition. I think Marty does that exceptionally well.
I don't know if Marty's going to pull the trigger on that right away and maybe just go with the benefit of the doubt and start Mike Matheson. But based on what I've seen from Lane Hutson, and we're not just talking about the one preseason game. Obviously, we're talking about the games that he had a chance to play with Boston University over the last couple of years and what he did with the U.S. Junior team and all that stuff. I think it's a matter of time. I don't think it's going to last very long. And because the way I see it, they both have an ability to do great zone entries. They both protect the puck real well. They both handle the puck real well. Matheson skates really well. But Lane Hutson is he's less predictable because he doesn't play predictable hockey. He tries things that others wouldn't try. You don't even know what he's going to do. I don't even know if he knows what he's going to do actually before he does it. And that's what makes it harder for other teams not to go because he's not a robot. He's just ultra creative and he just goes. And that's why I think he can make the Canadiens power play so much better. Not to mention, as my cousin pointed out to me the other night, he called me and he said, Hudson's ability, and he played defense for a long time, amateur hockey, but never really a big level. But he said, Hudson's ability to saucer passes through 2 or 3 guys and find guys with the corner of his eye and make the puck actually lie flat on it's unbelievable. I think Hudson's going to be a force to be reckoned with on the power play for the next decade.
Yeah, or longer. We were talking earlier about Oliver Kapanen and Christian Dvorak. You don't think all the players don't see what Lane Hutson's capable of doing? You don't think that what they're watching him do doesn't excite them? If you're Patrick Laine and you're thinking, geez, this guy could put the puck right flat on my stick in those prime scoring areas, you don't think that they don't get excited by that? They get massively excited by that. And to your point about Lane and what he's able to do, and he's done it. He's done it. I watching him play as a 16-year-old player at the 2021 U18 tournament. Now, a lot of people might not remember that tournament. That tournament was the Connor Bedard, Matvei Michkov. We're going to show everybody, like the future of the NHL. Well, I remember watching Lane Hutson at that level. He was a year younger than everybody there, as were Bedard and Michkov. Bedard 2 years younger. Lane Hutson was massively impressive right then and there, and you couldn't take your eyes off of him. And nothing has changed since that point in time. I will add this to finish on the Lane Hutson. Did Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes run their power play in the rookie years with the Colorado Avalanche and Vancouver Canucks, respectively? Yes, they did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't remember when was the last time I was as excited. The kid excites. No, really.
Yeah, I know.
Really the last time there was a buzz for a defenseman with the Canadiens like this that can lift you from your seats and could do things to just make the crowd go nuts. It was Subban. They haven't had one since PK Subban.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think one of the beautiful things about Lane, and one of the beautiful things about Montreal Canadiens fans and over the years, and, depending on how old you are, you have a longer range if you're older and not as long if you're a little bit younger. But you think about some of the players that have donned the Montreal Canadiens uniform and how they brought you to the edge of their seat and then pulled you out of your seat, and the creativity and the imagination that some of those brilliant players possessed. We see that in Lane Hutson. So at times, I find myself, and I'm nostalgic growing up in Montreal and loving the Montreal Canadiens growing up. We all are. Yeah, and I think that I think the fit for Lane Hutson as a Montreal Canadian, with the history of the Montreal Canadiens and those types of players, I think it's special, and I think it'll only become that much more special.
A shout out to Playground. Step into the world-renowned poker experience at Playground, where free food and drinks, a cash game tables, a Babby jackpot that's over $2.1 million, weekly promotions, daily tournaments, unmatched customer service await you. Why play anywhere else? Just minutes from downtown Montreal, across the Mercier Bridge. Playground. We'll finish with this. Pierre LeBrun last week told my colleagues George Larac and Stefan Gonzalez on BPM Sports that the Canadiens were in the Askarov talks, and ultimately the Nashville Predators asked for Jacob Fowler, and the Canadiens said thanks, but no thanks. And as we know, he ends up in San Jose, and Fowler is still in the Canadiens organization. Once we heard that, we're like, wow, I guess Kent Hughes probably doesn't think that Caden Primo is going to be able to push Samuel Montembeault as much as he needs to be pushed, and maybe I guess that's going to be the goaltending duo. My question to you is, and I liked Montembeault last night, Caden Primo looked a little bit uncertain of himself, even though he shut the door on Monday night versus the Flyers, who he always plays well against, his father's former team, by the way. You think Canadiens are in the market for a goalie? Because they were, according to Pierre LeBrun, up until a month ago.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that the Nashville Predators asked for Owen Beck in a potential trade, if I recall correctly. I don't get the. I'm not an insider. I don't know what goes on. Listen, when Yaroslav Askarov becomes available, if you're looking at trying to improve your young goaltending area, you better be phoning and expressing some interest in Askarov. You know, it would surprise me if teams that are in that area are not phoning. Now, that being said, the reason they traded Askarov was because Askarov looked at it and said, wait a second, you've just committed to use Saros for a long period of time, and that's going to block my thing. Jacob Fowler, to me, if the Nashville Predators go and trade for Jacob Fowler now could become a free agent in a few years. Why would he go to Nashville? And it would surprise me immensely. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me immensely. I find it surprising that the Nashville Predators would be asking for Jacob Fowler after signing Juuse Saros for that period of time.
I'll end it with this.
Surprises me.
If you're the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens and the goal is to be in the mix, do you think Samuel Montembeault and Caden Primo provide you that opportunity?
Yes, I do, because I don't think it's about the goaltending.
Really,
I think it's about the offense and the defensive play. When you're in the 25th percentile in offensive play and defensive play, I don't care if your goaltender is Dominic Hasek. You're not getting near the playoffs.
So I think there's the power play obviously has to be top 15 for them to make the playoffs. They have to be healthy to make the playoffs, something they haven't been in 3 years. But I would have thought, and one of the things I would have said too, is that their goalies have to have their best seasons of their careers. So you're putting a little bit less onus on the goaltending and more onus on the offense and the defense. It's interesting. And this is why I like having you on, because you have your opinions and we usually either agree. And if we don't, we'll respectfully disagree. And that's why it makes for a great show.
Good debates. They're always good debates. But Tony, you can talk about 15th in the power play. They were bottom 8 in the National Hockey League last year. Defensive goals against, defensive play, penalty killing, offensive play, power play. And their goaltending was not anywhere near that. Their goaltending gave them a better chance. So, Dominic Hasek, if they don't improve those other areas, aren't getting them in the playoffs.
You're right. Good debates for sure. And you and I are going to see each other next week over lunch. And there's no debate who's getting the bill. We're giving it to Agnello. Thanks, Craig. There you have it. Craig Button. Thanks so much, Craig. Always a pleasure. Special thanks to Energy Transportation Group, to Bittt, to Tibi, to Playground, to Betway, and to Souvlaki Authentique. Special thanks to all of you for watching. If you like it, comment, share with your friends. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, will be back tomorrow night with the Canadiens in Toronto to visit the Leafs, and we'll be on at 10 p.m. Eastern as usual. For Shane Gaumont and Master Control, I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.